Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Full Out Chats. I am your host, Steve Solberg. We have a great one here today for you. We have Ben Schreiber, head coach at the Ohio State University, who's going to be joining us here in a few minutes. Very excited to interview him. He's a good friend of mine, has some really great stories. But obviously, before we can go full out, we need a little bit of music. So as a coach would say, let's do it one more time. Let's go full out.
Are you ready? Full Out Chats. Do you know what time it is? We got control, we got the right, we got the vision, you lose the sight. We will never stop. We got the drum, yeah. What time is it? We're live in 5, 6, 7, 8.
All right, we are about to go full out. Again, we have Ben Schreiber, head coach at the Ohio State University, that's going to be joining me. Excited to interview Ben. We're just going to get Ben here in a second. Ben, you there?
I'm here, buddy. How are you today?
Hey, man. Good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you great.
Awesome. I can hear you too, man. I appreciate you taking the time out. I know all of us are so busy right now.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, actually having a little one at home, yeah. I really have not found that much rest time. Yeah. So I'm still trying to, balance work, balance a lot of family time that I'm still looking for a break one of these days.
I feel you. No, we'll talk about that here in a second about the new life that you have as a married man with a child now and how that everything there. But no, I just appreciate your time again, man. I really was excited to interview you. I always say that, you're kind of, in my opinion, one of the cheerleading legends out there that we have right now in regards to obviously where you cheered, your background, doing Team USA, and now coaching at, your alma mater, at Ohio State, and the great things you've done with that program. But what I love about what I want to do here is just kind of give a platform for people to talk about you. I think a lot of people know you or know about you, but don't really know your background and where you came from. Right. So kind of just start from the beginning, man. Where did you grow up, kind of family life, and we'll just go from there. Yeah.
Well, I first appreciate this opportunity to be here. I love this platform that you've created for people to, hear stories from different people in the industry, different coaches. So, I've enjoyed listening to some of the other episodes on the podcast and looking forward to what you do in the future. So
I appreciate it, bud. Thanks.
Yeah. I'm from Ohio. I actually started athletics, you could say, playing soccer as a little kid. I played soccer, I think, when I was 4 years old, all the way through high school, through my junior year. Through my junior year, I just was, kind of getting burnt out with it. Not really enjoying the running anymore, and was kind of looking for something else. And, my high school just got football kind of as I was, going into my senior year. So it was kind of late for me. I actually tried to play football for a little bit and was just so behind that I saw it really wasn't going to work out for me. But kind of in my senior year of high school, there was a girl, before this school year started. She's like, "Why don't you try cheerleading?" And I had what's cheerleading? What's a male cheerleader? What is that? And she showed me some videos, and I had seen some people kind of doing it. I said, that looks kind of cool. I didn't know people lifted each other up, things like that. So I actually was on the competition team for my high school, small private Christian high school, and did a couple competitions, then did the local all-star team. And that's way back before all-star is what it is today. Mm-hmm. So we did a couple competitions with that and really just caught the bug. As soon as I started getting a feel for it, I had a passion for it. It was so much fun. And, everything that soccer was not bringing me anymore I was finding in cheerleading. I, was starting to lift weights and kind of enjoyed that aspect. And stunting really was becoming my most favorite thing. And, at the time, my coach really didn't have any co-ed partner stunting experience. I remember trying to teach me a chair, and she said, well, she's going to sit on your hand and you're going to grab her ankle. And I'm left-handed. So I learned a left chair first. And then when I went somewhere, they're like, what are you doing? I said, I don't know. Help me. and really just kind of, did that through my senior year of high school. I remember going down to the University of Kentucky for a clinic. A girl that I was kind of stunting with a little bit. She said, "Let's try this out." I said, "Cool." Went down there and learned so much at the first clinic, learned a back handspring, learned a standing tuck. And it was funny because then the next week I remember getting a call from Salim, who was the coach before Jomo.
I was going to ask, was that Salim or Jomo at that time? Okay.
Yeah, I think it was near the end of Salim's tenure. He said, "Why don't you come to tryouts?" And I said, "You got the right number, man. I just learned all this stuff last week." But I went down there to tryouts and, made it through the process pretty far, but injured myself pretty bad.
Oh, geez.
I tore something in an ab muscle or something like that, and could not even attempt a back handspring or a tuck, and just kind of said, "Yeah, this isn't going to really work out for me." So ended up then, starting college. And I think what a lot of people don't know is I went to the University of Akron actually for a semester.
I didn't even know that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I went there for a semester and cheered for about half that semester. Still kind of learning some things. But did have the opportunity to go to UCA college camp for the first time. And that was something that really opened up my eyes.
Was that Milwaukee? When it was at Milwaukee?
I was in Milwaukee, yeah. And that really opened up my eyes, and that was kind of a goal then. Like, I want to do UCA, I want to be on the college staff. And, looking back at those years and, some of the people on there, were some of the people I really looked up to as I got to become friends with them. After going to the Akron is when I ended up then transferring down to Delta State. I thought about, I knew I wanted to cheer in a serious program, and ended up going down to Mississippi. Was kind of recruited to go down there. Never had been there before, but had a phenomenal experience. I was down at Delta State for a year and a half, and Trey Griffin was someone that was not coaching but around the program still a lot. That was really kind of someone I looked up to for what he had done with partner stunning and with cheerleading, and just really enjoyed that opportunity and that experience down there. Made some great friends, that I'm still close to this day. I was able to start working for UCA. I did 1 year down in the Mid-South region, and just really built my passion with partner stunning and being able to train a lot. So after about a year and a half there was a coaching change, and a lot of people were kind of leaving the program. And that's when I decided, do I want to try to go to Kentucky again, or do I just, want to, go back home and go to Ohio State? And, I knew I didn't have the tumbling at the time, but I told myself, as I was working so hard at partner stunning, it's something, if I just put my mind to it, I could probably get it. I could work at it. But ended up deciding to go back home to Ohio State. Cheered there for 3 years. Phenomenal experience. I never did have to learn all that running tumbling, even though they tried to make me. So that's nice, I guess. But that was a good photo.
There it is. Yeah, I was about to say. I mean, Ohio State and Julie Horine from Indiana was talking about it yesterday. Before the Kentucky dominance, it was Ohio State. Ohio State was. Yeah. It was always Ohio State, Kentucky. I mean, Ohio State, before Kentucky won that 7 or 8 in a row, it was Ohio State that won. And yeah. And I would think, I would say, the old school people know Ohio State was always known for their phenomenal, especially male tumbling. Holy cow, could the guys tumble? I mean, it was phenomenal. It was unbelievable. Yeah. Did you grow up an Ohio State fan, being in Ohio?
I did. I did. I had been to Columbus a few times, was never able to go to an Ohio State football game, but, we watch them on TV. And I think that even if people in this state go to different colleges, that, just like some other big schools in the South and other big states around the country, that, the school in Ohio is Ohio State. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean to offend anyone with that, but no, yeah. When it comes down to it in football season, people are rooting for the Buckeyes. So, being a Buckeye by birth, and then eventually going back home, it was a phenomenal experience. And just like that photo, I think that was my first bowl game at the Fiesta Bowl when we beat Notre Dame my junior year. So my second year, then that was just phenomenal experience and so much fun to be able to, see Buckeye Nation in abundance, even out west, out in Phoenix. And, I know we'll talk about it in a little bit, but even with coaching now and traveling these bowl games, it's just amazing to see how big Buckeye Nation is, not even around the country, but around the world. So
So at Delta, did you compete twice at Delta then?
I competed once.
Once at Delta. Okay.
Yeah, I competed once, and I think a fun memory for that is, just I think what I learned there too is a big thing of just about team members pushing each other, and I remember that still being so new and so self-taught and really having no technique, just trying to figure it out. I remember after the first day of practice, Kim Higgins, who's now the Mississippi State director for UCA, was our coach, and she divided everyone. Right, if you have a toss QP or above, come over here. If you don't, go in the back. And there's just a couple of us in the back, and I said, I gotta work. I gotta get up there. And I one of the specific things I remember is you had to have a toss QP and a toss one-arm lid before you could work on spinning skills. And that was something that I think really has helped me in my career of just focusing on those progressions, focusing on that technique. Later that first year for nationals, it was a battle of who was going to be the last guy to do the full up in the IME, and that was something that I worked for and eventually got that spot. And the funny story is where I was positioned on the mat was on the side in the back, and that's where one of the side camera guys was for UCA, kind of doing a close up on me. So as soon as I walked up to that and saw the camera out of the corner of my eye, I said, "All right, it's go time.
Got to go."
And we hit it good, so it was a good memory.
For kind of the old school people, they know, but Delta State was a strong program back in the day. Very strong program. Was that D1 or D2?
D2.
Okay.
So they had won, I believe, 5 championships in a row, 6 overall. Before I got there, they didn't win, and then sadly, we were kind of the end of knowing Delta as what it was. As it changed. And just going back to what you said a few seconds ago, but Ohio State was a tremendous powerhous. I think they won the first national championship with UCA. 1980 and 1983, I believe. And then 1993 was the last time that Ohio State won, and was still very competitive a lot of those years. And then just kind of with a change of the skills a little bit, they did fall off a little bit, but always known for their tumbling, like you said, just due to you're getting so many former gymnasts on the team. And, back when the tumbling rules were different than what they are today, tons of double fulls, tons of double backs, full and back outs. They were doing some crazy things at some of those competitions.
So you competed 3 times at Ohio State, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. And I know that kind of what you are definitely known as, in my opinion, one of the best co-ed skills instructors out there. And I agree with. You're welcome. I've brought you to Purdue a couple times, and you've helped us out a ton. And I agree that in terms of perfection before progression is what we always try to preach as coaches. But I do know that you were, if not the first partner stunt routine to compete at Ohio State.
Yeah, I was the first person to qualify and compete for partner stunt back in 2005, I believe, with my partner Tina, and we ended up placing 9th.
People talk about it a lot, how partner stunt is just different because you are alone. There is nobody out there. Kind of talk about the surrealness of, was this at the time, was it at Pleasure Island outside?
No, we were actually, I think it was either the year before or that year. They run together, even though I didn't compete the year before, but it was scheduled at Pleasure Island, and then it rained, and then they moved it into what used to be the Milk House, and then it kind of has stayed there since. But no, you're right. Partner stunt, even training for that, just how the program was at the time, I really didn't have any direction or a lot of specific coaching for that. So we were just really trying to figure some things out on our own. I remember at the time we had a private camp with UCA, so people that ended up being huge influences on my life and great friends worked that camp. People like Scott Thomas, Andy Brown, Leighton Clark, showing me some skills, giving me some ideas, and I really just tried to figure it out a lot on my own. And that was in the infant stages of YouTube, so it's not like you could just look everything up and try to find it. It was really a lot of trial by error. And I think one thing that really helped me be able to qualify for partner stunt is we practiced all the time. We would go into the field house and try to find a spotter. We would go into the Woody Hayes Athletic Center when football practice was done, and we would just stunt.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing in one of my coaching philosophies now is just, if you want to be good, you got to work,
Yep.
and but partner stunt as a whole, it's totally different than a team routine. And it is the first time, I'm not going to lie, it's scary. It's nervous because when you're behind the stage and with a team, it's, you can kind of look at some other teammates and, just get that look in their eyes and like, hey, we got this. You're back there with yourself. You can look at your partner and be like, hey, we're brand new. We've never done this, and let's go. But it was a little nerve-wracking. But I think once you can kind of get that experience, you can learn to, calm yourself down and, kind of revert to your training. But it's an awesome experience. It is my favorite part of cheerleading. And but it is, I'll also say that in my opinion, I think that 1 minute partner stunt routine is even harder than a 2.5 minute team routine.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Just because it's nonstop and you're just out there going.
We're here with Ben Schreiber, head coach at The Ohio State University. A little bit later, we'll be doing a Q&A with Ben. So at the bottom of the screen, you'll see a question mark that looks like a deck of cards. Any questions you have for Ben or the Ohio State program, feel free to type in a question there, and he'll be happy to answer them later. So you graduated from Ohio State, and what was your degree in? What did you study at Ohio State?
I graduated with a degree in sport, and I'm trying to actually remember the exact name of it, but it's kind of a sport humanities.
Okay.
There was a couple different tracks with it, but like a sport and leadership or sport and leisure studies. But the general one was like a sport humanities. So kind of a general, degree within, sports industry, but really enjoyed it.
So you graduate from Ohio State, and then you go to University of Delaware, correct?
Yeah. So my senior year of college, I knew that actually going into my senior year of college is when I knew that I wanted to be a coach. I knew that I had a passion for obviously partner stunning, as we've talked about, and just a passion for the whole atmosphere with football, with basketball, with doing events, being on campus, competing. I think that's just one of the great things in general that college cheerleaders get to do is we're competitive athletes, but we're more than that. And it's my opinion, it's more than a sport because we're competitive. We get to obviously, serve the community in different events and appearances. And then we get to, really enhance the experience at games. And, one thing I like to tell my team now is, every person is not there watching every single play and for the X's and O's of a football game. A lot of people are, but not everyone. And we're that, that extra little piece that, really helps make college sports what they are. So I knew that I wanted to be a coach going into my senior year. And I knew that I had some eligibility left. I wanted to keep cheering. I was actually that's when I really kind of started to interact a little bit with Tony Nash, who I know you're going to speak with later this week. Great friend of mine now. And had thought about going just a couple hours south to Moorhead for grad school. And also had a friend that I cheered with at Delta State that was a grad student at Stephen F. Austin. And they were obviously a powerhouse down then. And kind of a culture I thought I would, do well with just a lot of big guys, a lot of focus on partner stunning. And some of the greats, the best ever, have come out of that program. And then obviously Andy Brown, who had worked our college camp before, was now the head coach at the University of Delaware. And, he really encouraged me to come out for a visit. So at that time, Ohio State was on quarters. So I had graduated after the winter quarter and was done and went out during what would have been my spring break to visit the University of Delaware. And, Andy showed me around. I was able to meet the team and stunt with them a little bit. And then, a huge factor was he said, probably after one semester, I can get you a grad assistantship. And with my eligibility, I'd still be able to cheer. So that kind of sold me right there. And later that summer, I moved out to Newark, Delaware.
Again, we're here with Ben Schreiber from The Ohio State University. Again, if you have any questions for Ben to answer later, tap on the question mark at the bottom of the screen and send us a question, and he'll be happy we'll try to get to it as we can. But before you went to Delaware, I do know that kind of one of your goals and dreams did come true, where not only you made UCA staff, but you ended up making, in my opinion, the prestigious college staff. talk about that experience of how did you get involved with UCA and kind of your first experiences there and making the college staff.
Yeah. So the first experience I had with UCA was that first time going to college camp and, you know, seeing those skills. And I said, wow, like these are the best of the best. You know, going back a little bit when I had first started cheerleading, you know, I remember taping, not DVRing, taping the college shows and the partner stunt shows on a VHS.
Yep.
And I watched those till those tapes broke.
Yep.
That was our YouTube back then. So being able to see those people in the flesh, you know, for this new passion I had was maybe like other people, other athletes meeting, you know, Major League Baseball players or NFL players and being able to meet them. I was almost starstruck, like, wow, you know, I've seen you, you know, compete. So I knew that was a goal. I did that first summer when I was down at Delta State.
Yep.
And I did not work UCA when I was in Ohio, mainly because, you know, most of the schools are ground bound. So I knew I'd rather kind of keep stunting a lot over the summer. So I actually worked at a local gym. When I moved out to Delaware is when I kind of got back with staff. And I worked in the Northeast region for a couple summers. And that's when I was able to then, you know, with the influence of Andy Brown and different people out there, you know, meet John White. And, you know, he gave me a shot. And it was a dream come true. You know, working those camps, being around those people, becoming one of the people that I looked up to, and then being able to, you know, as John White says, make a difference in the lives of other people was something that really became special. And had so many wonderful years working for UCA throughout my career. And, you know, even to this day, I miss those college camps. Just the camaraderie, as much as they weren't always the most fun times, the demo practices, performing those demos, you know, in front of the other college cheerleaders was such a special time. So, you know, UCA, you know, really helped shape me to the person I am today. And I learned so much from those times.
So as you're doing UCA, you're also finishing up your grad degree at Delaware, and you competed 2 more times for Delaware?
Yeah, so I competed 2 more times for Delaware. Did partner stunt twice with Stephanie, now Tucker. Stephanie Tucker, now Stephanie Riblett, and then Jillian Guadagnino, now Jillian Patrick. So some phenomenal partners and, you know, a lot of things that, you know, I kind of self-developed, I guess, from Ohio State. Just we're part of the culture there with just, we're going to stunt a lot. We're going to work, you know, we're going to find a place to go and we're going to work all the time. And, you know, under Andy Brown's leadership of him being someone who had not only competed partner stunt, but won partner stunt and, you know, could explain things in different ways. And you know, just, again, trial by error, you know, competed partner stunt twice, team routines twice, and a ton of fun and getting better and working at our sport.
So then graduate with your master's degree from Delaware. And then did you go right into coaching after that?
So what happened is actually about 1.5 years in is when Andy Brown decided to resign. And then he was going to take, you know, a new job and he was moving down to Georgia. That's when he ended up, you know, connecting and working at coaching at Columbus State University. So during that time, you know, I was the grad assistant, so I kind of became like the interim coach. So I put my master's degree on hold. For the rest of that semester, to be an opportunity. And I really focused on making a plan. I was, you know, kind of running the practices that we had, finishing up some of the basketball games, but really trying to plan that, you know, for hopefully to get a job interview for that position. So really tried to develop a plan. And then, you know, later that spring was offered an interview and ended up getting the position. So it was definitely a interesting, unique transition. You know, I've listened to some of the other guests that you've had, and a lot of them have had, you know, the experience of coaching under people, you know, like Krista Sanford was able to coach under, you know, the legendary Myron Doan, but I was kind of, hey, here's the keys to your office, and here you go. You know, you're going to have tryouts in a couple of weeks. So it's a lot of trial by fire those first couple of years.
But you do interview and you get the position at Delaware. And kind of talk about, I mean, you obviously had a connection. You were there. But like you kind of said, you didn't really have, I mean, besides really the fact that you cheered there, you didn't really have an in per se. Kind of just talk about, how was that first year or two at Delaware and kind of because obviously you followed up a very good coach in Andy, and who had left his mark there. Kind of how was it following up him and kind of the things you wanted to implement?
Right. Well, another unique challenge going into it was a lot of people on the nationals team that year were graduating.
Okay.
So it became a very young team quickly. And, a huge learning curve. And without having the opportunity to really be an assistant or coach under anyone else, I really just focused on leading by what worked for me. And, have since been able to make some changes to that, but I really try to still implement, like, we're going to work hard. We're going to practice a lot, because I was someone that didn't always gain skills quickly. It didn't always come to me right away. Like, I had to do things multiple times before I could kind of figure it out and get it right. So I tried to coach like that. And, it was a great experience. The first year was rough. I was learning kind of by the day, the business side of it, the office side of it, the scheduling, the uniform orders, going to camp, all the budgetary things, but was able to develop that and, work some long days to kind of start, honing my craft and, just trying to become the best I could while leading the team. So.
Again, we're here with Ben Schreiber from The Ohio State University. If you have any questions for Ben here in about 20 minutes, we're going to go to our Q&A. Again, just send us some questions at the bottom. Tap on that question mark. Send me some questions, and Ben will be happy to answer them. If you do it in the comments box, we're probably going to miss them because we're going to scroll by us, and we're just going to miss that. So, again, send us through the question box. So you were at Delaware for how many years?
So I ended up coaching at the University of Delaware for 5 years.
5 years, okay.
5 years.
And during those 5 years, and maybe before, correct me if I'm wrong, another great opportunity that you were able to get is you made the U.S. co-ed team.
Correct.
And got to compete with them. Kind of talk about, did you do it twice?
Ended up doing it twice, yes.
Talk about that experience, because, at the time it was still new-ish. Or brand new. Were you on the very first team ever?
No.
Okay.
I was on the second or the third team. So I was on the team that competed in 2010. While I believe that was my second year coaching, second or third year coaching. Jillian, who was my stunt partner my second year, we did partner stunt. We still worked college camps together. She was still living in Delaware, actually finishing her master's, and we still trained a lot. Ended up competing NCAA Open partner stunt a few times together, and decided that it was a great opportunity that we wanted to be competitive again and represent our country. So back then, it was a different process than it is even today, that their first level to qualify was submitting a video. And then we had to fly down to Atlanta for an in-person tryout.
Okay.
And then, they announced the roster later that day, had a quick meeting. And then they said, we'll see you a couple weeks before, ICU. And we actually trained just north of Atlanta at Stingrays All-Stars.
Okay.
So
very cool.
That's where we were at for the training period. We bussed down from Atlanta to Orlando a couple days before, and then competed and won the world championship that year.
Awesome. I think that I've talked to some obviously coaches and people who have done the USA teams, and I mean, I don't think there's a bigger honor,
It really is, and it's different than competing with a high school or an all-star team or even a college, because it starts off with the opening ceremonies, and you're in your red, white, and blue. You're in your USA warm-ups. They're doing the opening ceremonies, and because USA was the host nation, we were the last team to walk out, and just seeing all those other athletes, and then even give us a standing ovation was just unbelievable. And then when we were able to win during the medal ceremony and they played the national anthem, and we said, this has got to be what it feels like for an Olympian to win.
Yeah.
So unbelievable experience, very difficult experience. I don't want to sugarcoat it. I mean, those practices days are long, where other countries have the luxury of putting together these routines over the course of several months. We're cramming it into 2 weeks, and those are, 2-a-days, 3-a-days. You're sore every night, and you're just getting up and you're ready to get after it the next day.
So you've done Team USA co-ed while you were coaching at Delaware.
Correct.
And so you've been there 5 years. And as people may or may not know, at the time, Delaware was competing large co-ed D1.
Correct.
So you're trying to slay the dragon. You're trying to beat Moorhead.
Yeah.
And, and you guys eventually do it. You're able to win that national championship. Talk about that. Talk about that win. Talk about that season, and being able to, I'm sure, check off another one of your boxes in your coaching career.
Yeah. So coached there for 5 years. The first 4 years we placed second. I think 2 of those years it was very close, very similar to the years when I was on the team at Delaware, where it was really neck and neck, and some of them you really had to wait till the awards to see who was going to win. While I was coaching, some of the gaps, were far, and there was a couple of years that were close, but that last year was a special year. The team definitely faced some adversity, leading up to nationals with having to lose a team member, and it was just one of the closest teams I've ever been a part of. Those 2-a-days, back at the Carpenter Sports Building, of just working there all day and working on this routine, and then going down and hitting a really strong routine. And then Moorhead also had a very strong routine that year. What people probably don't know is actually both teams didn't hit their routine. Both teams had at least one drop. But Moorhead did have a few more mistakes than us. And when they called our name in first place, I'll never forget it. And I think Moorhead had won, since 2001 is when Delaware won, so it was, I think, 13 years in between, and super special weekend for us.
I know exactly what you're talking about, man. It's something you'll never forget, that first one. Hopefully not our last. Hopefully.
Yeah. I think the cool thing too was being able to win as an athlete on the national team, and then as a coach. Being able to do that, of just kind of thinking that, I started coaching with just no head coaching experience, and was it easy? No. And I don't want to sugarcoat that at all. And there was a lot of long hours, sitting in an office at 9:00 at night, even on a weekend sometimes by myself, just trying to plan and think about, what I could do at the next practices to enhance the athletic abilities of the athletes. What can I teach differently? What can I, do to kind of help develop them more? And then for that payoff to happen was just really special.
It's amazing the time and energy we had when we were in our early to mid 20s.
Yeah, a little bit harder now, especially with the family and the little one. But that goal is still in mind, and it's something that or maybe I stayed up later before. I get up a lot earlier now and try to kind of still do some of those same things to try to have an edge and keep getting better.
So you're in your 5th year at Delaware. You guys win the national championship. And there was some changes happening at Ohio State, and that job becomes available. And I remember seeing it, and I remember reaching out to you right away, like, hey, did you know about the Ohio State job? And you said, yeah, and I remember that. And to me, it was a no-brainer that you would have to be a candidate if you were interested in that position. So kind of talk about that position. Talk about the process of trying to get in, in my opinion, obviously one of the most prestigious positions in the country, and going back to your alma mater.
Yeah. What's funny is the day I accepted the Delaware job 5 years before is when the Ohio State job opened up for the first time.
Okay.
Legendary, leader of the program, Judy Bunting, had been there for over 25 years and was transitioning to a different role within the athletic department. And I knew at the time that I didn't have the resume, I didn't have the experience to even apply for that job. So, I thought, well, it might be another 25 years before this opens up again. But, fortunately, the job did become available, and I learned about that, in that 5th year at Delaware. One thing that also happened, I think, in year 3 at Delaware is when we started an all-girl team. And me and I really kind of let Jill run a lot of aspects of that program, but we coached it together and competed at stunt. So
that's right. Yep.
What was cool that 5th year is, we were fortunate we won the national championship, but then also Delaware men's basketball made the NCAA tournament. So I went out to Spokane, Washington with that team while Jill was preparing to take the stunt team who had qualified for the Final Four to Oklahoma. So went out to Washington, and unfortunately we lost that game to Michigan State. I hopped on a plane super early the next morning and flew to Oklahoma to meet up with that team. So, competed at the stunt championship, and then flew back to Delaware, and it was the next day that I actually then flew to Columbus for the job interview.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of travel that week. And that was, I believe, a Tuesday night or a Wednesday. Was on campus all day for the interviews, and got to meet a lot of people within the athletic department and reconnect with some of them that I had known of before while I was an athlete, but didn't really know from the other side of things. And by Friday that week, I had accepted the job.
So now you're back at Ohio State. You are moving to Columbus, Ohio, and taking over your alma mater. Talk about now you're doing it again. You are trying to put your mark, your stamp on a program, and try to, as any new coach will do, or any coach, is try to evolve it into what you want. So kind of talk about the process of doing that.
Well, first thing I want to say is it was a very difficult decision to leave Delaware. And I do want to spend a moment on that because, for 5 years and actually 7 years as an athlete there, we had the goal of winning a national championship. And then we finally achieved that goal. And, I said, well, we could really try to build something here. And then when Ohio State called, I said, well, this is a dream job, to be able to go back. When I first, going into my senior year at Ohio State, I said I wanted to be a coach, and this would be the dream location to do it. So it was a tough decision, but I did accept the job, and I came to Columbus. And at the time, there was the leadership change that you talked about, and they had a rough go at nationals that year before, and I knew that we really had to start from square one again, and it was a process that I knew that I couldn't do everything at once, and I would have to kind of make some slow changes. So I started in April of 2014. Actually, it was today in 2014 that I made the announcement that I was accepting the job. I saw that on my Facebook time hop, so that was kind of cool to see. And was working at it for a couple months, had a couple practices. Actually, we backtrack. I accepted my first day on campus was a Wednesday, and tryouts started that Friday.
Okay.
So there was no recruiting. I was literally had a meeting with the team and just went over a couple of the changes that would be made to that first tryout. And had the tryout and selected the team. And then actually in July, I was able to hire Siobhan St. John as our assistant coach, who has been just a phenomenal resource, a phenomenal partner through this, that I definitely could not do this job without her. We balance each other out. We share different ideas. And I think she's a phenomenal person to coach with because she's not a yes man. And she will share her opinion.
No way.
We'll go head to head with certain things, but that's what makes us stronger. And I think that has really helped us to take the program where it is today. So definitely a lot of changes. We started implementing, started building a culture there that we wanted to have. I see her on the comments laughing now. So, hey, Sile. And started really trying to build a culture that we both agreed on that, from our experiences that we think would be the best for our program. So went to nationals that first year, placed 8th, and we were happy with that because where the team had, placed the last couple of years at nationals, that was a strong improvement. And I was happy for about 5 minutes. But I was ready to get back to work. And, as the years kind of rolled on, we just kept working, started making changes to the program and building the culture to kind of what it is today and what, we envisioned it being. One of the things, even with our team selection, we had 2 years of an open tryout and then tryout by invitation only. And we just had our second season now where we select the team through recruitment, to be in alignment with other varsity sports at the collegiate level and at Ohio State. And that was something that I had wanted to do kind of early on that I thought would kind of best help us select the people that would be the best fit for our program. And then other just changes with, some of the characteristics and the qualities that we want out of our student athletes to not only be great athletes but develop them into leaders and help prepare them for, as I like to say, life after OSU.
Absolutely. I'm sure. I mean, I completely agree with you. The Ohio State program has really excelled the last few years, especially, and capped it off with 2 medal performances here now in a row, or 3. Is it 3 or 2?
So we went the first couple. We went 8th, 7th, 8th. Then we got 3rd.
Yep.
Second last year, and then we got 4th this past year.
Okay. So 2 of the last. I'm sorry. Like D1A co-ed is no joke. That is a division, and if you are a consistent top 5, let alone a top 3 program, you're doing something right. I was so happy for you and in your program when you guys that second place. I mean, when you're taking second place to Kentucky, that means what else can you really ask for?
It was really cool because I remember in 2018, we placed 3rd, and such a strong class. A lot of those kids, were seniors that we had from their first year, or maybe there was their second year on the team, and just to see them grow as athletes, as leaders, as people getting ready for the real world, to finish with that 3rd place was amazing. And going back then to our alumni reunion the next year and being able to say that it was the highest finish since 2001, and then come back the next year and get 2nd, which was then the highest finish also since 2001 when they got 2nd place. So just seeing the development start to pay off just is exciting. It's so rewarding. And it's also just providing a lot more motivation to keep going and keep growing and making Ohio State one of the best programs to cheer at in the country.
Again, we're here with Ben Schreiber, head coach at The Ohio State University.
Oh, yeah.
And that sound effect means we have some questions for Ben. Let's go to the Q&A section here and answer some questions. Here we go. I'm sure it's a question you're getting a lot. Any advice on how to keep up with stunting skills during the quarantine?
It's a great question. And that's something we actually had a Zoom meeting with our 2020-2021 team yesterday. And, the big thing I told them is, first, make sure you guys are being safe. You're practicing social distancing. You're adhering to the guidelines by your state, by the government. But then the general thing that I've been saying is control what you can control. While this is a huge time of uncertainty, control the things that you can't control. So you might not be able to physically stunt right now. Most people cannot physically stunt right now. But again, control the things you can control. You can control your workouts. You can control your mindset, your visualization practices of seeing yourself stunt. One of the things that we talked about in our meeting yesterday was even, if you're out doing some cardio or you're, working and putting yourself, on the mat during a routine or in the shoe at a football game, executing some skills, and then even trying to design and work on your workouts, things that can help. So even for females, like focusing on, speed off the bottom, like maybe you're doing some squat jumps, maybe you're doing some box jumps, maybe you're jumping rope, maybe you're working on some sprints. Maybe you're even, if you're, again, a co-ed flyer, you're doing some tricep work to kind of help that flick. So while you might not be able to stunt right now, and most people are not able to, you really try to focus on the positive that you can and control the things that you can't control. And I think it's going to help change your mindset, and you can still be able to get better.
I know this is going to be a pretty common question here because as you talked about, Ohio State does not have a tryout anymore.
Correct.
You guys do recruitment only. At Purdue, we've kind of done a hybrid of that. Also, I agree with you. I think that for the most part, it's a no-brainer. Usually, you know who you're going to take and who you like, and I totally agree with that. So the question is, how do you recruit? How does somebody get recruited by Ohio State?
Right. Well, I think one thing that people should know is we don't have the staff size of a football team, a basketball team. We don't have several coaches. We have a Siobhan St. John, our assistant coach, and we have a volunteer assistant coach named Kelsey Giantonio, who also works right now as an intern in the athletic department. So our staff is limited. Our resources are limited. So first, we do have a recruit questionnaire on OhioStateBuckeyes.com. If you just go there and you search for the Spirit program and then find the cheerleading tab, you can find a lot of general information on our program, and then you can also find this recruit questionnaire. And that's kind of the first step I tell people is go there, fill out your demographic information, and then just like other sports kind of can submit like a highlight video, there's some instructions there to submit a video. And there's going to be some questions and answers on there. We're going to want to see physical skills. And that's kind of a first way to get yourself known about us. I'll just say it here. The video does not have to be professionally made. It can be spliced together, and just a simple unlisted YouTube link is fine. Also, we host a lot of clinics throughout the year. One thing that our staff prides ourselves on from our clinics is we are there to teach you. We are there to help you get a little bit better. The focus on our clinics, and one of the things I tell participants when they start is it's okay for you to be selfish today. I want you to focus on you and how you can get better. We spend a lot of time, obviously, partner stunning. And then we have a tumbling and a game day section, because I think that game day portion is so important. As you being also a Big Ten college coach, we want all the skills. We want the standing fulls, the running fulls, the 2 to fulls, the elite partner stunts. But most importantly, we want someone that is going to be able to lead a crowd, someone that is not going to be shy if they're having to do some sidelines or chants in a small alumni group setting or in front of 100,000+ people in the stadium. So we want people that are comfortable doing those things. And then also the different style between maybe a high school game day and a college game day. And then we also have a question and answer session that we've gotten a lot of positive feedback at, where participants can ask questions directly to the coaches, ask them to the athletes. So at those clinics, we do obviously identify people and make some connections there. Also, we do go on the road a little bit, where we attend high school nationals to be able to see some different people down there. And then sometimes either me or my assistant Siobhan will even travel to some different regions and maybe visit some gyms, visit a couple high schools to identify some kids.
Kind of just a funny one here that you could probably answer real quick. Oh, where'd it go? It was really fun. Here we go. It's from Kirby. How much do you miss El Diablo at UD? Go ahead.
Hey, Kirby. Kirby is one of the assistant coaches at the University of Delaware. I miss El Diablo a lot. I miss that Mexican food. That stuff was so good.
For people that don't know Ben and I are good friends, and we're foodies. We like our food. And Ben and I definitely talk about that. Here's a great question. Who influenced you the most to start cheering?
That's a great question. I think the first influence actually would have been a girl named Sherry Lee. That was a high school friend that she never was a cheerleader, and she thought about trying it her senior year, and she said, let's try it together. And we did. And I think she just cheered the 1 year, and that was it for her. And it kind of became my life. If you would have told me that going into my senior year of high school, I would be able to be a college coach one day, represent the country on the national team, travel to Europe so many times, over 10 times, to work with different teams, and was even able to do a partner son exhibition at the European Cheerleading Championships years ago, I would have told you, you're crazy. And it's just been so fortunate. I'm so blessed of where this sport has taken me.
Here we go. This is from I know Dan. This is Dan right here from University of Minnesota. Kind of in your shoes, and so it's a great question. What kind of challenges did you face in changing the culture early on at Ohio State?
Actually, one thing hey Dan, hope you're doing well. Dan was a freshman. My last year.
He's from UD. Yes. Yep.
And that's a great question. What kind of challenges did you face in changing the culture? There's the easy thing to want to do is change everything at once and realize that you have to go step by step. And start making the small changes. I think each program, each culture that's in place is going to be a little bit different, a little bit unique, but really kind of start instilling the values and leading by example. So one thing of trying to even change the work ethic when I got here was having more open gyms. Even maybe when I was tired, trying to stunt more and really trying to be as possible. At those open gyms and provide as much feedback as possible. And part of that is, explaining why. because I think a lot of this generation, even compared to when, we were younger, Steve, is, coach told us to do something, we did it.
Yep.
And now a lot of people ask why. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's kind of providing more reasons why. So, for example, we could, paint the picture of nationals, paint the picture of how pushing yourself now and developing this discipline, developing this work ethic, how that's going to help you in life after college, how that's going to help you in the professional world, in your family life. So, leading by example as much as you can is something that I think will help be a great start to changing a culture.
I think this is from one of your athletes. When are we going to see that round off double up at practice?
Might have to dust that off a little bit. It's been a while since I threw that stunt. A great question, Garrett. But I'm hoping to I tell you what, I'm missing it as much as anybody right now. And now that my little daughter's getting a little bit older and on a better schedule, I'm hoping to be able to, even for an old guy, stunt a little bit more. And we're back at it with the Buckeyes and show the young guns that I still got a few things up my sleeve.
Right. And I'm sure a question you get a lot. What skills are you looking for Ohio State?
Fantastic question. And I think that first I want to say, just like a football team or a soccer team or a baseball team recruit specific positions, that's one thing that we implement at Ohio State. So for those of you out there that might not know, in college you can build 2.5 high for pyramids. In high school, an all-star, unless you're level 6 or level 7, whatever it is now, you're really only limited to building 2 high. So with that said, for our females, we're looking for mid layers, and then we're looking for top girls. So having different needs on a year-to-year basis is going to influence how we recruit. So, for example, we needed some top girls this year. We took 4 new female team members, and we selected more top girls this year than we were able to or needed last year. Same thing with guys. While UCA school, for those that compete, the guys, you want to see at least some basic tumbling and stunting from everyone. NCAA is a little bit more position oriented with, you might have some people that just focus on tumbling and then people that are more stunters. So, first, whatever school you're looking for, kind of reach out to that program, reach out to that coach, learn as much as you can. And then you can kind of find out more what the specific needs are. So some basic things that I look for in athletes. First, not some cliche, is, do I think that they will be a good fit for our culture?
Bingo.
Do I think they would be a good fit for our program? You could have all the skills in the world. If I don't think you're going to be a good fit for our program, you're not going to be selected for our program, just like how other sports work. But skill-wise, we're looking tumbling for females. At least they're running full. A solid standing tuck, and preferred is going to be a standing handspring full. For partner stunning, knowing that everyone has different access to males, different levels of co-ed experience. We want to see solid body positions and toss stunts, and then really being able to learn quickly spinning stunts, and then a strong potential for flipping stunts if you don't already have that experience. As much as we can too is game day background. So that's why we've added that to our co-ed stunt and college prep clinics. It's something strong that we look at. And then even if you are an all-star cheerleader, don't think that you have no chances. We've had plenty of all-star cheerleaders come through our program, but just realize that, even at Ohio State, we don't focus on jumps. We don't jump at all. And you need to be comfortable being in front of a crowd and being able to lead that crowd.
All right. Who's your favorite dance team?
The Ohio State Buckeyes, the national champions.
Absolutely. I figured that was a nice setup question there for you to slam that one.
And I'll just give a shout out. Melissa McGee has done a phenomenal job with that program.
Yeah.
That program did not exist as a varsity sport like Ohio State cheer is a varsity sport while I was a student athlete here. And kind of was still in its infant stages when I took over. And as we've, split to 2 separate programs that still work hand in hand, she has done a phenomenal job implementing, again, her own culture with them for game day, and then obviously being, phenomenal on the competitive level, in jazz and in pom.
Great question here. What made you switch from tryouts to recruitment?
That's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to, in the pursuit of becoming a varsity sport and being recognized more within our athletic department, knowing that no other team essentially had a tryout. Every other team selected their team through recruitment.
Mm-hmm.
I also felt that through recruitment, I can get to know a candidate for a longer period of time.
Mm-hmm.
I can see them develop rather than maybe in just a 1 or 2 day tryout.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there are some cons to recruiting that you don't have at a tryout, but so far the pros have definitely outweighed the cons.
Mm-hmm. All right, last question here. Another kind of just set up for you to spike. Why is Brutus Buckeye one of the GOATs in the mascot world? And that's obviously from Ray, your mascot coach.
Correct. Yeah, Ray Sharp is our mascot coach. And I'll tell you what, Ray's passion in being part of our staff as well, leading our mascot program is, he's a part-time person here, but, works full-time hours and has a full-time commitment. And, the things that he's done and always thinking outside of the box. I think one of Ray's strengths is how can we continue to grow? How can we keep building this thing? It's led him to 2 national championships for Brutus, but even more than that, the difference that they've had Brutus make in the community has been special to watch. And they're constantly, working on new ways to, as I talked about earlier, enhance the fan experience at games. Football and basketball games and other sporting events they're at. Everyone's not there to just watch every single play. And that's what makes college sports special with the bands, the cheerleaders, the mascots, that whole pageantry. I think Ray's one of the best at being able to do that.
All right, real quick, just because I think this is a funny question, but I agree with this guy. You're an animal in the weight room. What's your PR in deadlift, bench, and squat?
I do love lifting weights. And I will say this first, that, I think partner stunning, that's one thing that definitely helped me to get better. So much of partner stunning is technique. I want to first say that. You have to have the technique. You have to have the discipline to work on the technique, to get the grips, to make stunts look smooth. But then I think strength is also a major factor for the power, for the stamina, and then for the endurance. So my best PR in deadlift is 640. Bench, I think 370. Elbows, we ain't going to see those numbers again. Squat, my best is 550. So
Dang,
I do play with the squat and deadlift still a little bit. Bench is just trying to maintain now as I'm trying to save this elbow.
Well, Ben, I just want to thank you, man. We're almost at the hour limit here, but before we get there, let's talk real quick about the dad life.
Yes.
How is that going? How is it? How is the dad life treating you?
I tell you what, fatherhood has changed me, and I think Allie Ben Schreiber on Instagram joined us for this.
Yes, I saw that. Yep.
Say hello, but she has been, just a joy. And, I've been going to celebrate my 3rd wedding anniversary on June 4th, 2020. And then it'll also be Allie's 1st birthday. So she was born on our anniversary. She is so special. It's changed me like I never thought it would. Becoming a father, and even now she just celebrated 10 months, being able to throw her around and start tossing her and flipping her a little bit. I know we're going to have a lot of fun in the future, teaching her how to stunt, and hopefully she'll get the bug like I did, and be a cheerleader one day as well. And also we should give a shout out and mention that my wife Sarah was also an Ohio State cheerleader, and we were friends on the team, and then reconnected a couple years ago when I moved back to Columbus, and now we're all Buckeyes and hopefully all cheerleaders here in the future.
I loved it when I first met Sarah. We were talking, and I asked her, so did you guys ever in college? She's like, oh no, Ben was too busy stunting and lifting.
I was. That was the passion back then. It was the focus back then. So I think a closing word I could say to anyone is, as you're still trying to maybe develop your passions and figure out your passions, just don't be afraid to pursue things. I never would have thought when I started cheerleading that, it was a goal to be on college staff, and it was a goal, to compete and win championships, but keep pursuing those passions. And because you will be amazed on where you can take yourself. Just keep believing, keep working, and just keep trying to get better every single day. Ben
Schreiber at The Ohio State. Thank you, my friend, for joining us today.
Steve.
I appreciate it, man. Great stories. Stay safe, stay healthy.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we'll see each other soon, buddy.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, and we really appreciate it. Go Bucks and Boiler up.
Thanks, bud.
All right, take care.
Again, Ben Schreiber, Ohio State University, just a great guy, good friend of mine, awesome, awesome coach. So thank you again, Ben. Tomorrow, 1 o'clock, we have Ryan O'Connor, formerly known as Ryan Martin. Yes, that Ryan Martin, Ryan O'Connor tomorrow, coach at Western Kentucky. You might remember her from her Dunbar days, University of Alabama, USA all-girl and co-ed, cheerleader nation. Really, in my opinion, kind of the first cheerlebrity we ever had was Ryan. We're excited to have Ryan here tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed Ben Schreiber. Again, a great guy, just a great coach at The Ohio State. An excellent dude. So just thank you again, Ben, for being with us today. And again, tomorrow, 1 o'clock, Ryan O'Connor, Western Kentucky University. Thank you all very much. Have a great day. Stay healthy and stay safe.